Hello, shellbacks, shitbags, battle buddies, bastards, artists, and assholes. Welcome to another exciting episode of Before the Mast. I'm Burks, your host in the shit show that is my show. For tonight's cocktail, we're going to make The Anchors Aweigh, not to be confused with The Anchors Away. Then I'll tell you the tale of how I saved the mighty USS McCampbell from almost certain destruction off the coast of Okinawa. Let's head over to the Laka Laka Lounge. We're there. For tonight's drink, you will need gin, sweet vermouth, Grand Marnier, orange juice, lime juice, an ice-filled cocktail shaker, and an ice-filled rocks glass. Also, an orange for a garnish. There is another drink called The Anchors Aweigh. That's Anchor apostrophe S-A-W-E-I-G-H. That is a bourbon drink. This drink is the Anchors no apostrophe A-W-A-Y. That is clearly a gin drink. You'll understand my reasoning for going with this drink later on during story time with boats. Let's get started. Grab your ice-filled cocktail shaker. I love fresh gin. And dump in 1 3/4 ounce gin, 3/4 of an ounce of Grand Marnier. I love that sound. 3/4 of an ounce of sweet vermouth, 2 ounces of orange juice, and 1 ounce of lime juice. And now shake it like you're waking it up for watch. And strain it like you're back on a working party. Garnish with an orange wedge. Engage the wildcat. Oh, that's tasty. It has some screwdriver aspects to it with the orange juice and all. But the sweet vermouth really kind of adds I want to say champagne-y taste. Like it's got a belly warming aftertaste. Try it yourself. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Speaking of engaging the wildcat, that's how I became the LPO of OD Division on the MCB back in 2007. It was a blustery September day in Okinawa. We had been there for a brief time for Liberty, just like a day visit. On this particular morning, we set the sea and anchor detail to depart. Petty officer in charge of the forecastle was the Deck Division LPO, a bosun mate first class, whom I had also served with on my first ship with as lowly E3s. And now here we were. He a first class and I still a mere second class trailing along. I was on the forecastle as POIC of the line handlers. Now, standard procedure for getting underway is to what they call put the anchor at the dip. That is to lower the anchor out of the hawse pipe to the shackle so that it's ready to let go at a moment's notice in case of a steering casualty or a propulsion casualty. There is a specific order to this evolution. First, the wildcat is engaged. Not that Wildcat. No, still wrong. Closer. There we go. The Wildcat is a piece of machinery that holds the weight of the anchor and the chain and can be used to raise or lower the anchor. Second, the brake is released. The brake holds the weight of the anchor and the chain when the Wildcat is not engaged. So it is rather important to make sure that the Wildcat is engaged before you release the brake, unless you plan on dropping the hook. Third, the Pelican hooks are released. The Pelican hooks are a tertiary stop that hold the weight of the anchor and the chain. There are two. The anchor is lowered to the dip via the Wildcat. The brake is set and the Wildcat is disengaged so the anchor can be released quickly if needed. This portion of the evolution went off without incident. About an hour later, we were transiting past the breakwater into open sea, and the pilot house throttled up to 20 knots. Word came down from the bridge, secure the anchor for sea, and the sequence of events is the same. Now, I was standing behind and to starboard of the brakeman, Seaman Mayo, getting the line handlers to handle lines down to the bosun locker. I heard the LPO say release the brake. What happened next happened within 5 seconds. I hadn't heard him say engage the Wildcat. Before I could say anything, the anchor took its leave of the ship, and the Wildcat started spinning like a whirling dervish. A plume of rust dust rose from the strike plates, and the roaring sound of runaway chain filled the salty air. The entire crew on the forecastle turned and ran for cover. I really didn't think about it. I grabbed Seaman Mayo on his way past me and I threw him back at the brake and ordered the brake set. Mayo turned the wheel like he was spinning the wheel of fortune, and the Wildcat came to a screeching halt. I ran up to the bullnose and saw the anchor just in the water. I breathed a sigh of relief. Had the anchor gone any farther, it could have taken out millions of dollars worth of sonar equipment below the waterline. I ran back and called down to the engineers to engage the Wildcat. Now the bridge was frantically asking Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. I wanted to say we had a Charlie Foxtrot on our hands, but I was too busy trying to coax the anchor back into its house. With the anchor safely on its way home, the forecastle crew started to meander back. The LPO, visibly shaken, says to me, "Boats, I forgot to engage the Wildcat." I was thinking to myself we were all going to get the ass chewing of the century with our poor LPO providing the lion's share of ass to chew on. So I put my hand on his shoulder and just nodded comfortingly. I mean, what can you say? Don't worry about it? Nah, we're all very fucking worried about it. It'll be okay? Nah. Yeah, no, it's not going to be okay. You done screwed the pooch this time. Nah, he knew that already. Once the anchor was secured, we had to discuss with our chief and the first lieutenant what had happened, who then presumably told the department head, who then told the skipper. We waited for the wrath of God, or at very least the wrath of Khan, but it never came. What did come came a few hours later when the captain came down to the bosun hole, where I and the LPO were. The LPO clearly thought he was about to meet Jesus Christ and started confessing and begging for forgiveness of his transgressions before the mast. The captain handed me his coin, shook my hand, and said, "Good job out there." The LPO apologized again and said it would never happen again. To which the skipper said, "I know it won't. BM2 Burks, you are now the LPO." I was shocked. I just said, "Aye, sir." and the skipper turned and left and took all the oxygen out of the space with him. As a second class, I was now the LPO to one of the most physically demanding divisions on the ship. Not only that, but there were two BM1s on board, the former LPO and the assistant LPO, or Assistant Leading Petty Officer, ALPO, ALPO. Well, I thought, promote above peers. I thought for sure I'd make first class and my career with the world's greatest Navy would flourish. Of course, that's exactly what didn't happen. 2.5 years later, my ass ended up back on dry land with an M4, 3 grenades, 240 rounds of 5.56, surrounded by a bunch of pissed off Babylonians outside Tikrit in a funnel of buildings ominously known as Sniper Alley. But that's a story for another day. Until next time, here's a safety brief. If you're underage, don't drink. If you do, don't get caught. Stay away from bow-legged women. And if you don't, make sure you use a prophylactic. Also, don't get caught. Change your socks and remember to hydrate. Cheers!
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, put him in the longboat until he's sober. Put him in the longboat until he's sober. Put him in the longboat until he's sober. Early in the morning.
Like and subscribe, you dirty bastards. 2007. Garnish with the